To graph this equation here, we got to first recognize that this is actually something called point-slope format. So point-slope format is called point-slope for a specific reason, because you're able to identify a point on the line and the slope of the line. And this is what the format looks like. It's y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1, such that this y1, x1, and m is going to help you identify the point on the line and the slope. And the slope is going to be the m value. And the point on the line is actually going to be the x1, comma, y1 value. So when you combine the x1 and y1, this is going to tell you information for where the point, or the point that's going to be on this line for this equation. So let me show you how to apply this to this equation. So again, the formatting I could tell is point-slope form. And one thing you got to pay attention to is it has to be written as subtraction. So if you see like y plus 1 here, then you got to rewrite that so it's as a subtraction sign. So now I can see this is written as subtraction, and this also is written as subtraction. So I don't have to worry about that. I'm actually ready to identify all parts. So it's y minus y1, so y minus, this is my y1, x minus x1, so x minus my x1, and then my slope is going to be this value here. So just organization is important, so I'm going to just organize it. So x1, comma, y1. So my x1 is going to be this one here, x minus x1, so that's 3. And then my y1 is y minus y1. My 1 is my y1 value. So I know that this equation is going to pass through this point. And then the slope, m, is going to be this fraction, negative 1/2. And notice that the negative is in the middle. I could also rewrite it as just negative 1 over 2. And, if you have a negative number, just put it either on top or bottom, because that's going to help you with graphing your line. And as a side note, your slope is going to help you figure out your second point. But first, let me just graph this point. So I know that this equation is going to pass with this point, right? This point is contained in that line. So 3, 1. If I go to that point, it's going to be right 3, up 1, put a point. That's my first point. To get the second point, I need to use the slope. So here is my slope here. And as a side note, your slope is always going to be change in y and change in x. So it's a ratio of two numbers. And the change in y is always your vertical movement. The change in x is your horizontal movement. And one way you could tell is if you look at your graph, the x-axis, right, y-axis, y moves this way, x moves this way. So that's how you know the movement that is, or the directions that it's going to tell you. And since this is a negative number, right, the top number is either up or down. A negative number means it's going down. So this one is down 1. So that's what that tells me. This is a positive number. And it's either left or right, but since it's positive, I know it's telling me to go right 1. Which means, so I'm going to go to the point 3, 1, and I'm going to go down from this point, go down 1, right 1. So down 1, or sorry, this is not down 1, right 1. It should be down 1, right 2, right? That should be a 2, so right 2. So down 1, right 2. And you notice that sometimes this might happen. There's not enough space on your graph because it looks like it's a little bit off of the graph. So if that does happen, you could actually fix that. So instead of doing down 1, right 2, I told you earlier that you could put the negative on the bottom and it does not matter. So watch, this is what I mean. Instead of putting the negative 1 up top, I'm going to put it on the bottom. And now this is telling me to go, right, it's a positive 1. That's telling me to go up 1. And a negative on the bottom, right, this is telling me to go left 2. So I'm going to do that. And you're going to see, look, up 1, left 2. So from here, if I go up 1, left 2, I end up over here. And notice that, look, it's still the same pattern, right? It's just going opposite directions. So if I draw my line, you can see it would still contain that point that was a little bit off in the graph. It still works out. So if that does happen, I recommend doing that. Just go opposite directions. And now you can see we have the graph of the line that represents this equation here.